Hello, today I'm going to explain the nitrogen cycle, which is part of the topic organisms and their environment. The nitrogen cycle is actually a bit complex, but we are going to clarify it. When I talk about the nitrogen cycling in the environment, I'm talking about the nitrogen in all of its forms. This is the first thing that you have to understand. So I'm talking about nitrogen gas, I'm talking about proteins, since the proteins consists of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. I'm also talking about nitrates, which is NO3, it has a nitrogen in it. I'm talking about ammonia, which is NH3, that still has a nitrogen in it. Okay, so anything that contains nitrogen might be in our cycle. I can actually start the cycle from anywhere, but I will start from here. Stage number 1 is decomposition. What's decomposition? Decomposition is done by the bacteria of decay, where this bacteria digests the proteins in the dead bodies into amino acids, and then these amino acids are broken down into ammonia. The proteins contains nitrogen, the amino acids contains nitrogen, and the ammonia contains nitrogen. Okay, what do we do with this ammonia in the soil? The ammonia is used by another bacteria called the nitrifying bacteria, which does a process called nitrification. Nitrification converts the ammonia into nitrites. It adds oxygen to the ammonia to convert it to nitrites, and then nitrates. Okay, so what do I do with the nitrates? The nitrates is an important mineral for the plant. So the plant absorbs some of the nitrates to form proteins, and the plant grows. After some time, the plant will die. When the plant dies, it will decay, and it will be converted into ammonia. And then the ammonia, by the nitrifying bacteria, is converted into nitrates again, which is absorbed by other plant. So this is how this cycle goes. Okay, so what we're thinking is all the nitrates in the soil absorbed by the plant? Of course not. Some of it is absorbed by the plant, while the excess nitrates are used by this bacteria, which is the denitrifying bacteria. The denitrifying causes denitrification. What's denitrification? It is converting the excess nitrates back to nitrogen gas in the air. So the denitrifying converts the excess nitrates back to nitrogen gas in the air. What happens to this nitrogen gas? Does it stop here? Of course not. If all the nitrogen gas stops in the air, then the cycle will stop. So after the nitrogen gas goes to the air, what happens? It is used by another bacteria called the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria are actually present in the soil in the roots of leguminous plants, which are some types of plants like the beans, the peas, the clover. These plants have this type of bacteria. What does this bacteria do? From the name, it fixes the nitrogen in the soil. How does it do this? By converting the nitrogen gas into ammonium, converting the nitrogen gas in the air into ammonium in the soil. This ammonium again is used by this nitrifying bacteria to be converted to nitrates, and then the nitrates are absorbed by the plant, and the excess nitrates are used by the denitrifying bacteria. And this is how the nitrogen cycles. So again, one more time, as we said, we are going to start from here. The dead bodies under the soil are broken down by the bacteria of decay. The proteins in the dead bodies is converted into ammonium or ammonia. This ammonia is used by the nitrifying bacteria and converted to nitrates. Nitrates are absorbed by the plant to form proteins, and then the plant dies. After its death, it decomposes again. What about the excess nitrates? They are used by the denitrifying bacteria and are converted back to nitrogen gas in the air. The nitrogen gas in the air is used by the nitrogen fixing bacteria and is converted into ammonium again, which still goes to the nitrifying bacteria to be converted to nitrates. So what I should know here, what I should understand is the name of each process and what exactly happens in this process. For example, in the decay, the proteins are converted to ammonia. In the nitrogen fixation, the nitrogen gas in the air is converted into ammonium. In the nitrification, the ammonium is converted to nitrates. In the denitrification, the nitrates are converted back to nitrogen gas. So I have to know the name of the process and what happens in it. Okay, so let's see an example of a question in the past papers. It gave me the nitrogen cycle, but it looks a bit different. It's okay, it's still the same. Number 1, nitrogen in the atmosphere, which is in the air, is converted into ammonium in the bacteria in root nodules of legumes. What's process P? Let's go back. Nitrogen gas in the air is converted into ammonium by the nodular bacteria in the roots of leguminous plants. So what's this process? It is nitrogen fixation. The nitrogen in the air is fixed in the soil, then this is nitrogen fixation. And then he completed the question. The ammonium in the bacteria is converted into amino acids in the bacteria and then in the plant itself. Okay, then he told me the amino acids became proteins. What's this process? When you join amino acids together, what are you doing? You are doing protein synthesis. Protein synthesis. That's from an old chapter, but it still relates to the nitrogen cycle because amino acids contain nitrogen and protein contain nitrogen. And then protein in the legumes in the plant became amino acids in the intestine of a goat. So this means that the goat ate the plant and then the proteins are digested inside its intestine because the protein is now broken down into amino acids. So this is digestion. R is digestion. The amino acids are broken down into urea in the blood of the goat. After the goat ate the proteins, it's digested. After it's digested, the excess amino acids change to urea. That's also from an old topic, and we call this, the change to urea, we call it deamination. Okay, for the second arrow, amino acids changed into protein again. This is the same as Q here. He gave me the same letter because this also is protein synthesis. The urea became urine, proteins in the goat, some of it is lost in the feces, and then the urine and the feces are now in the soil. Here, if he asked me for a letter here, this would be decomposition, where the organic waste, the urine and the feces are broken down into ammonia. And then ammonium in the soil is changed to nitrates. Ammonium changed to nitrates. If we go back, Here is ammonium changed to nitrates, so this is nitrification. So letter T will be nitrification. The last one, nitrates is changed to nitrogen gas. Nitrates is converted back into nitrogen gas. If we go back, nitrates converted back to nitrogen gas, so this is denitrification. So letter U will be denitrification. And this is it for the nitrogen cycle. I hope you understand. Please comment if you have any questions.